I got a ultimate question for you, Martin, if you don't mind. But this one is
Go
going to
ahead.
be tough. I warn you ahead. I heard that you are in crypto right now, right? On top of stock trading. You also trade crypto.
Um, to some extent, yeah.
Okay. I would like to know your like projection from even mathematical point of view perspective regarding if you have already thought about that. Where do you see Bitcoin topping and when?
Okay, so I'll just take a step back for a second and talk about crypto in general. So I believe, and I've said this consistently since I got out of jail, I believe that crypto is an important part of software, but not the only part of software, and that I like the app layer of software where my job is to make users' lives happy, more productive, make them money, whatever the case is. When I make an app, I will do whatever it takes to achieve that. That's the job of an app developer. If crypto can help me achieve that, I like to use it. If it can't help me achieve it, no need to use it and force it. So where are the ways that crypto can help me? Not a lot of ways. I developed a pharmaceutical, sort of pharmaceutical, but any molecule really, system for screening medicine or screening any molecule, typically medicine, to use that in a distributed compute fashion. We didn't get much success commercially, so we abandoned that project. But we were planning to use some kind of proof of calculation, proof of compute to power that. And there was kind of a plausible way that blockchain could help there. But we didn't see much uptake. We underestimated the stickiness of commercial scientific packages. We decided to move on, which is, typical for a software company to pull the plug on something not doing well. We couldn't find any other uses for crypto until very recently, where, again, just one product out of a company that has 4 or 5 products, we created a GPU sharing mechanism. And again, with everything we do, we ask ourselves, why does this need crypto? Because if it doesn't need crypto and it's just a scam to get money out of crypto, then it's something we'd rather not do, to be honest. And so in this case, we can pay for GPUs, which is something we do with our AI apps. We pay millions of dollars to rent GPUs. We can rent GPUs using a token that didn't cost us any money to create, which is awesome because it cost us $1 to make a token, but we can actually rent GPUs to people who are willing to say, I will take the token, I'll take this gamble that this is worth something, and I will give you my GPU. So we created that technology. We call it Shoggoth. You can check it out. It trades on Solana. Would love to have everybody support it, but not going to hard sell it to you. But I thought I'd mention that. And with respect to Bitcoin, I have made a prediction, and I put it, actually inscribed it on chain on Bitcoin, and I wrote it in hash, a SHA hash. And my prediction I made on April Fools, which unfortunately is a day for a lot of people to not take predictions seriously. But I don't care about April Fools, and my prediction was very serious. And I predicted that Bitcoin will reach $1 million for Bitcoin, which many people have predicted, and we're not that far. It's 70,000, so this is only a 10x. You don't need to be Roaring Kitty to reach this prediction. But I added 2 things. One, I think it'll happen by the end of the year, which is a little bit crazy, I know.
At the end
And
of the year,
2,
$1 million.
yes,
Really?
that's my prediction. And then I'll explain a little bit more. I also said that it will not be because of some crazy meltdown of the financial system, which some people think would be required for Bitcoin to go up. I actually think a crazy meltdown of the financial system would hurt Bitcoin. I think it would hurt all assets. I don't think people would be happy if the dollar fell apart and all the banks closed. We may very well use Bitcoin in that scenario, but I don't think it would go up. because we wouldn't have a financial system to really speak of. Now, it might go up on a dollar basis, but I don't think, because let's say if the dollar was worthless, it could be $1 billion to one Bitcoin, or trillion, or
But
10 trillion. It doesn't matter.
Martin, just quantitatively speaking, if you say, because I just try to understand mathematically speaking, if you say, okay, $1 million for Bitcoin, but if we what would be then the market cap if you have calculated that for Bitcoin?
21 trillion.
Yeah, and if you had to compare that regarding like the previous cycles, knowing that we have always seen diminishing returns, how could that be possible? See what I mean?
Well, look at Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia was one of the rare companies where the price of Nvidia went up the fastest in the last year, which is, the latest year of the company. So I think it's about adoption and innovation more than it is about cycles. I don't think cycles are real things. I think they're imaginary things we assign to prices. We see prices go up and down and we say, oh, that's a cycle. But the reality is the cycle has no mathematical definition. If the price of a security is rising, we'll say, well, we're in a bull market.
Yeah, but you
If the price
cannot compare because like the
go
reward, Martin. Sorry to cut you off, but just to make you react on that, the rewards are divided per two every 4 years for the miners. So then it creates like a shock between the demand and the offer. See
Yeah,
what
I
I
don't
mean?
know about that. So I don't think so. But I mean, I understand the halving mechanism, but I think that price of Bitcoin is dependent on lots of things, and obviously the mining supply I think affects very few people. There's much more Bitcoin market participants than just the miners, and I think that because there's been some pattern of price movement that we somehow assign rational kind of behavior to that when we should not.
Yeah.
So I think I would.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I just discard the idea of a cycle completely. It's a man-made
You don't
fiction,
think
especially when
you don't think cycles are natural products of random walks or something like that, like times the
they are.
sequences of stochastic processes have cycles.
But by definition, stochastic means that they're not predictable, and cycle is. I think when people say cycle, they're really talking about economic cycles where there is a money supply shrinking and growing, and there's a recession that you can measure, and that in that recession you have GDP, and that is a business cycle where GDP is growing really fast, inflation's happening, that's a business cycle, and vice versa. Now in the markets, there are cycles to some extent. We've basically abstracted them away. We haven't had a cycle in, 16 years. We've just had this like slow, steady growth. We had a couple of mini episodes, but mostly it's really been steady. We tend to sort of say we're in a bear market if there's a 20% correction. We're in a bull market kind of otherwise. And it's a bit silly because in crypto, we don't follow such definitions. We just basically say broadly decreasing price is a bear cycle and a broadly increasing price is a bull cycle. And crypto is volatile, so those movements are pronounced. And because they're pronounced, we tend to think that we're in a pattern of price movement. The price can go at anywhere, anytime, right? If there's a weakness in elliptic curves, it can go to zero immediately. And if other events were to take place, it could go to 1 million immediately. I believe some event will take place that will make
To
it go to 1 million
20
immediately.
trillion market cap. So if the
Yep.
100 trillion is equities, right?
No.
Treasury market's 20 trillion. Yeah. Well, yeah. Correct me on both of those numbers.
No, I think you're not far off on the equities, but that's publicly traded equities, globally, yeah.
And then treasury, you're saying it's going to be as big as the treasury market, like 20 trillion.
Well, we have 20 trillion debt outstanding. Sure, yeah.
That's my
maybe more
upper
than that.
bound. I would say that's best case. We don't have to.
I think we have more like 40 trillion in treasuries, right? But anyway,
can you elaborate on what you think the catalyst, or what that event might be?
I wrote it and signed it, so if I'm right, I can tell you the hash, and you can see for yourself. But I'm also trying to insert myself to make the catalyst happen. So I'll leave another clue there. But look, it's probably the probability would tell you it's not going to happen. That you can buy 300,000 strike calls on Bitcoin for like $3,000 and turn 3,000 into 700,000. So it's a 200x, and those are tradable. Not hard to
How
get
do
a
you
hold
do?
of them.
Wait, you can make calls on Bitcoin?
Futures.
Yes, the index option, the futures options.
Okay, I've never
Options on a
never
future.
traded futures. I'm too afraid.
Then you've definitely never traded options on futures.
You can
It
on
is a difference.
Bybit. On Bybit, for example, you have calls and puts. Yeah, that you can take.
Define
The
risk.
problem with there is your counterparty risk, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Bybit's gonna pay you out if they're on the wrong side of that trade, but the clearinghouse will, right? ICE has the capital theoretically to pay you. I'm not sure Bybit does or any of these other guys. They might as well just say, "Nah, we're not paying you."
There is money, Martin,
end of the year?
in crypto. There is money. Don't underestimate those coin exchanges. They make shitloads of money. So of course there are some
but if I
winners and some losers, but there are more losers. So with the money of losers, they
it's
can
possible,
fail
but I
you.
mean, you can buy more calls than they have capital to pay out if it hits.
Sure.
I don't
No,
know.
they have a limit. Basically, when you enter in a long with a really high leverage, some of them they have an algorithm limit, and then you need to contact the support to go to load more.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'm very, very familiar, unfortunately, with those, and it's yeah. I mean, anyway, I think we'll see if my outlandish prediction happens. It's a little outlandish, but many people believe this will happen.
Well, why?
I mean, the worse the
matter of
economy
when.
gets, the stronger the Bitcoin is.
See, like you, I don't agree with that. I think all risk assets go down as risk goes up. So do you think it's digital gold? Do you think, because it's not payments, Bitcoin is not payments.
No, it's just people wanna. Everybody knows when the economy crashes, the stocks are tanking. So they're just taking the money out, they're putting it in Bitcoin. That's it.
No, all
see, I
risk
disagree
assets
with
are
that.
correlated. Yeah.
Martin, so you kind of sound like you're siding with David Hunter about like a USD meltdown.
I don't
No,
think so.
I said that I don't think.
Okay.
Because people are asking like, "Oh, do you think World War III is coming?" and stuff like that, and it's like, no. This is not about the dollar going away and Bitcoin replacing it, which is not a horrible theory, but I think, as somebody else here is
No,
saying,
I
like
think that's
think in
what
that
people
scenario,
believe in. What will
No,
happen
like,
is when the
yeah.
crash happens, they're gonna create their own cryptocurrency, like the U.S. government, and then Bitcoin
maybe,
is gonna be
but
worthless.
maybe, but I think that, like he said, risk assets, and Bitcoin is one of the riskiest assets. Risk assets would probably underperform in severe conditions, and I think that there'll be a flight to quality, and people will, rightly or wrongly, still view the dollar as quality, and Bitcoin will probably underperform, but it may not. We don't know. But my thesis is not that World War III happens and USD melts down and Bitcoin melts up. I don't think that has to exist or take place.
Why does David Hunter say that?
Engagement farming, right?
Great point.
No, it's gonna happen.
Well, there's still like a lot of leftover ANCAP Austrian economics. And like it's become this prosperity gospel now. It's like transformed. And that's a whole other topic.
Hello, my beautiful one.
So I do want to follow up on one more thing. If you do think that Bitcoin does make it to that million number before the end of the year, are there any other ancillary plays besides futures? Would we see that expressed in the same type of way, or maybe even like having larger returns with something like a similar idea to like the altcoins kind of being like a beta play, high beta play on Bitcoin itself? Do you think that would play out as well? And anything in particular to
Maybe.
watch?
No, I don't think so. I think it's largely a Bitcoin specific thing. But yeah, imagine all crypto will have a halo effect, right? But yeah, I basically think that crypto's time has come. So we'll see what
I
happens.
just want to make sure I heard that correct. It hits 1 million this year. Is that what somebody said?
Correct,
saying
by
it's
year
20
end.
trillion.
Yeah, and when you said, Martin, yes, I don't think that it exists, etc. It's just a coincidence regarding like the Bitcoin cycle, 4 year cycle. How do we explain that the market since 2009 really respects this cycle and repeats every time, with diminishing returns, etc., and the same length for the bear market, etc. What do you have to say about that?
I think you can get out a computer and a Bloomberg and Excel, and you can find any pattern you want in the stock market. It's like the Bible. You ever read the what do they call it, Bible code or something like that?
I see what you mean.
can find.
You can basically, via
Yeah.
statistics, you can take any numbers and make them say whatever you want, depending on
Yes.
the angle.
Time series analysis is essentially impossible, right? Because there's no repeatable experiment.
Yeah, I don't think it's predictive in the future, right? Because otherwise it would be arbitrageable, and we could all arbitrage. I'd wait for the day of 4 years ending, and I'd pile in, and somebody would say, "Wait a second, I'm smarter than that. I'm going to do it the day before. I'm going to do it New Year's Eve." Then somebody's going to say, "Oh, hold on, I'll do it by Christmas because I'm going to front run this guy who's front running that guy who's going to put all his money. BlackRock's putting all their money on January 1st." It doesn't work.
That's how I feel about next word prediction.
But historically speaking, it worked. Okay, maybe it's not going to continue. Yeah. I got your point, but during like more than 10 years for Bitcoin,
the sample size,
it worked,
Yeah, but the sample size is very small, right? The sample size is what, three times?
Yeah, 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. Yeah.
Can I just ask? There's just one thing I'd be curious of. I'm not a crypto guy, so forgive me. This is a dumb question, but what's crazy to me is there are 30-year-old people running around that are managing directors of places these days that have never seen a real recession, and since 2009, there's been no such thing as anything but an abundance of liquidity. And I'm just curious. For me, and again, I'm not smart on this asset, but I see in a risk off this not doing well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think most crypto will drop 99%.
As usual, no? At the top of each cycle, it's the standard, minus 75 or minus 80% for Bitcoin and minus 90% for all altcoins. Doesn't mean that it's shitty. This is just the DNA of the crypto cycle and crypto in general. Then it's your job to basically ride the waves and not consider it like a Google stock or an Apple stock and hodl that for the rest of your life.
But there's also,
like that,
I mean, I think that if you look at tulip bulbs, they probably had their ups and downs too, and then they had the final down. So it's not like there has to be, the next exact, 4-year cycle. It doesn't work that way. There's no guarantee that you'll get a down 75 and then you can have a rally again. There's a possibility that you get the down 75, then another down 75, then another down 75.
Of course. There is always like this risk. But don't forget that candles are represented by people. So if people get used to that, then it has a huge impact even. You see what I mean? Even if it's imaginary. To respect the cycle.
They probably got used to tulip bulbs too, right? I mean, tulip bulbs were the great mania. And digital just to play devil's advocate, I'm the one bullish here. Digital tulip bulbs are certainly possible.
I got a question, which is just the Warren for the crypto guys. I'm just going to rip off the famous Warren Buffett stuff around gold. If you just add up the whole market cap of Bitcoin right now, would you rather own it or all of ExxonMobil, all of Apple, all of Nvidia? Because that generates cash flow.
Yeah, so what I'd say to that, I have a lot to say about that. One, I agree. The price of a security or asset is not necessarily reflecting its value. One. Sort of. Two, I do think, and I talked about this with GameStop, and I think you were there, you want your assets to be productive, right? They have to produce income. They have to have some kind of claim and some kind of right. There is a little bit of value in the sense that Bitcoin doesn't have an inflationary sort of standard, but technically it doesn't produce anything. Theoretically, it's not worth anything at bottom, which is a problem because you can buy things that are worth something at bottom. It's a medium of exchange which should not have intrinsic value theoretically. So I think there is a problem there, and gold is certainly the Lindy effect of gold is that it's been around for a long time. We just kind of agree that gold's valuable, and it's a bit, silly, but it does have one use. But it'd be easier for us to agree oil's valuable because it really is really valuable. Hydrocarbons are very important, hard to find. So if we had to settle on some commodity, why not settle on oil instead of gold? But the Lindy effect is what we've been using gold longer than we've been using oil. Bitcoin's got this sort of digital Lindy effect. Whether that's a real thing or not, we're going to find out at some point.
But
They'll
Bitcoin
each have
Cash is the real Bitcoin.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I spoke to Kim.com, the mega upload guy. He told me Bitcoin Cash is the real deal. Because you're actually supposed to like use it to like in everyday use, paying for things. You can't pay for anything with Bitcoin. It's like 100 transactions a minute. That does nothing.
Yeah,
That's
it's not a
why you have
medium of
Bitcoin
exchange.
Cash.
It's
There's so many
subjective.
better alternatives to
We
Bitcoin Cash.
we will not
Okay, go.
we will not have this discussion.
Why not? It would have been fun.
It's just not the place or time.
Well,
Yeah,
can I
I mean,
ask-
I think. Go ahead.
yeah, like one thing I wonder a lot is why Jack Dorsey, even if it's against my interests, not allowed me to buy coffee with the Square Cash app through the Square merchant. He has like vertical integration, and he's apparently a Bitcoin maxi. And like, why wouldn't he at least it doesn't even look like the truest believers think it's a medium of exchange. They think it's a store of value, right? Based on this like provenance it has.
Well, Cash App. I actually use Cash App quite a bit to buy Bitcoin. It's convenient for me, although I can't buy a lot of it at any given time. It is kind of convenient, at least. Send to friends or something like that, and so I think he's got that in his product. And Stripe's bringing crypto to their products. But I think that Bitcoin wasn't meant, at least the way it is now. It's certainly not useful for payments. It is useful for kind of almost like bank-to-bank payments.
Yeah, not high volume payments.
Yeah,
maybe
money
low volume
laundering.
transactions. Yeah.
No, more like if you want to, it's like a checking account versus savings account thing,
Yes, I see it as like a medium term commodity trade. But yeah, it like substitutes for my savings account almost.
Yeah, you can use USDC or USDT for
Totally. It's get 5 or 6%.
those kinds of trades. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that the idea that one idea is church and state kind of got separated. So the idea that money and state separates is probably something that's going to happen. I come from a country called Albania, where we have a absurd currency called the lek, and it's useless. I mean, there's no purpose for the lek to exist. It's just something that the government abuses. They can print it, they can siphon it off, etc. And at some point, the lek will hyperinflate and they'll start all over again. So, I think that I'm just trying to add this guy.
Only buy what you can run with. That's the best investment advice I can give you.